This is the Retirement Key Podcast with Abe Abish, founder of Abish Financial Services.
A lot of firms out there say they will do tax planning, say they will do Social Security planning and RMD planning, and typically they just do investment management. They want your money.
You've worked hard your whole life to earn and save. Now you need a plan to make that money work hard for you.
Where do you stand today with your retirement accounts, with your insurance, with Social Security, RMDs, taxes, all of it? This is how we need to think. We need to think outside of the box on these matters.
Abe is here to help you unlock the keys to your retirement.
I feel like it wasn't too long ago when you and I were complaining about the summer heat, and here we are halfway through October.
Hitting the 30s now and the heat's on, so the fall is here.
Where does the time go?
The fall is here. The seasons change so quickly in the DC metro area. I love the change of seasons here. I really do. But they change quick. There's not much middle ground between, summer and fall and winter, et cetera. But if you're a sports fan, we've got playoff baseball, we've got college football, we've got NFL. Not if you're a Washington football fan. It's been a tough start to the season. But there's always next season, I guess.
That's the thing about being a fan. You can't be fair weathered. You've got to stick with your teams. Yeah. As a Virginia Tech Hokie, Abe, I'm here to tell you, I know exactly what it feels like to be in the throes of that kind of football season.
Yep, I hear you. Look, you guys had a huge run for a long time with Coach Beamer and Michael Vick and all those guys that played for Virginia Tech.
We got the new coach. We got the new coach this year, and that's what I'm telling everybody. I'm like, listen, we're in a building phase. You got to just give us a little time. Right. We're going to figure it out, and we'll be back.
That's right.
In the meantime, like you were saying, there's lots of other things to distract ourselves from. If our team's not doing so great, if the market's making us crazy, we can find something else fun to look at. It is that time of year, and that's what we will focus on until we're turning on WMAL and listening to the Retirement Key, because, Abe, you are here on the radio each week working to help get us some answers to the questions that so many of us have. And sometimes it's hard to even know what the right question is to ask anymore. You turn on the news and you're going to see there's so many different opinions about the economy, about the stock market, about what's really going on. I mean, for example, recently in the same day, I saw one so-called expert saying the market's going to go down another 20%. Another predicted a 40% drop. A third said, for what's coming, we need prayer. Meanwhile, market strategist Brian Belsky told Fox Business that everyone needs to just calm down because apparently we're almost out of the woods.
Do not talk about 2008. This is not 2008. This is nowhere near 2008. We think this is a garden variety type of correction that is, to some degrees, unprecedented with respect to what we're coming out of. But I do believe 2022 is the reset, and 2023, 2024 is going to be more of this return to normalization.
Abe, thoughts?
We could speculate all we want, Heather, and if I knew what the markets were going to do here in the near term, then you and I would be sitting with a nice cocktail in Fiji or the Maldives.
That's it.
So we're not going to speculate, but I will say, just looking at historical recessions and everything, the average recession is 18 months, a year and a half. If we can agree that we're not in a transition, but we are in a recession defined by the first 2 quarters of this year having, being negative GDP, if we can agree that we're in a recession, let's say we're 9 to 10 months in, that means we're only halfway through the average recession length, and the average recession loss is negative 40, and we're looking at like negative 20 to negative 25 right now. Yes, we believe there is further pressure on the down. We believe that there is potential that the markets could go backwards further before they turn around. And the bleeding's already been bad enough this year, so let's take action. Let's control what we can. And believe it or not, Heather, we sit down with somewhere between 5 to 10 families a day that are looking and considering working with us. And almost every family and individual we're meeting with, even after incurring 20 to 30% losses year to date in the market, still have enough money to retire successfully.
Okay.
They still can control their own destiny. The biggest thing, though, is not hoping for the best, not continuing to just sit there and not make any change, but actually taking action and controlling what they can. And one of the biggest things anyone nearing retirement and in retirement can control is the amount of risk they are taking on in their investments. And most people we're meeting with that are approaching retirement are still invested as if they were 5, 10, 15, 20 years prior when they were 40 to 50. Hence, a lot of people we're meeting with have negative 25, negative 30% returns year to date. That's got to change unless you want it to get worse. right? Because yes, the markets will come back. But in the meantime, let's not try to catch a falling knife and continue to have our portfolios go back another 10, 15, 20. God forbid, let's take action. We just had a couple call into the show and they heard us on WMAL and they came in. They've got about 5 or 6 years left till they retire. So they're in what we call the retirement red zone. And speaking of football, that's when you're typically 5 or 10 yards away from the end zone, right? You're in the red zone. And the last thing you would want to do, we talk about this so often, is turn the ball over to the other team, Heather, right before you're about to score, fumble the ball, throw a pick or an interception when you're about to score and you've just traveled the field 90 to 95 yards down. You're 5 yards away. Here is someone approaching retirement, maybe 5 years or less away from full retirement. That's the retirement red zone. We don't have the time that we did when we were 45 and 50. We have 5 years or less. And a lot of people coming in for a second opinion with us are telling us they want to retire January 1st. That's months away, not even 5 years. And so, no, we don't have the time anymore to recoup massive loss and make big mistakes. So that's why this couple came in. They live in Haymarket, Virginia, late 50s, early 60s, 5 years left, about $1.5 million saved. They were close to $2 million at the start of the year. They found after coming in that the $1.5 million they still have after their losses they've incurred year to date is going to be enough, and they're taking action. So they're concerned with the markets. They're concerned with everything going on. They're middle of the road investors, 5 years left to retire, but they're concerned because they have no plan. And they've done a good enough job to get here and save over $1 million. But they're like, hey, we're 5 years or less away from retiring, and we don't want this to get worse because we don't want to push our retirement horizon out further and have to retire 7 to 10 years from now. So the solution for them was simply creating a comprehensive phase 2 retirement plan. That includes an income plan, like a roadmap, so they can see how close are they or far away from retiring? What does their income look like? Where's the income going to come from? Investment strategy for this next phase of their life and as they transition into retirement. If you knew that you had enough money saved to retire, then why would you take on any extra risk than necessary to get there? In other words, if you're taking on more risk than you should be, let's talk about bringing that down to a risk amount that you should be taking, right, for this next phase of your life.
So as you were pointing out, as we all know, we've seen the market is down in extreme ways for some people, and that means your 401k money is likely suffering with it. Still, if you're 72 or older, Uncle Sam says you have to start dipping into that money regardless. It's called a required minimum distribution, or an RMD, it's commonly called. Investment specialist Angela Sloan was telling TD Ameritrade that it's been very painful this year.
Those are the ones that I feel for the most, are the ones that are RMDH, because you know what? The RMDs are calculated December 31st every year for the following year. So where was the market December 31st of 2021? It was high. It was up there. And they calculated the RMDs for 2022. Now, how many shares do people have to sell to come up with that RMD amount? And they have to take it out. They don't have a choice. IRS wants their money.
So, Abe, how can we then craft a tax strategy to help soften the blows from an RMD?
Well, Heather, the first reason why someone would have an RMD, a required minimum distribution, and is because they're 72 years and older, and because they have a TSP, a 401k, a 403b, or an IRA that's never been taxed. And they bought into the myth when they were early in their career that when they retire, they're going to be in a lower tax bracket. So stuff these accounts with as much money as possible, because when you retire, you're going to be in a lower tax bracket. You're going to have less income in retirement. And that is so false for so many people. But because they've stuffed these accounts for 40, 50 years and never paid a penny of tax, the IRS is like, wait a minute, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, you're 72 now. You might only live another 10, 15, 20 years. We got to get as much tax revenue out of these accounts as possible. So those are forced required minimum distributions for any of those of you listening that are 72 and older. And the IRS doesn't give a darn whether the markets are down or up. And they are down this year big time, and they don't give a darn. They want their RMD. And for those of you that are not yet 72, you might be in your 60s and retiring. One of the worst things that you can do is pull money money out of the markets while the markets are down. In other words, withdraw money for income while the markets are down. But if you're retired and you need income, where are you going to go if you don't have a plan for the good times and bad? Right. This is where we leverage our safer instruments, our instruments with principal protection or partial principal protection. We leverage our safer dollars in the plan, not the stock market dollars, because we don't want to deal with double negatives. We don't want to deal with sequence risk, with timing risk. That risk again, Heather, with when the markets are down, if you're withdrawing monies out at the same time because it's either a forced RMD or just income that a retiree needs while the markets are down, you've got double negatives and sequence risk, a double whammy. It can crush your portfolio values, and that's a risk we've got to avoid or eliminate. This is a risk that so many people are concerned with, and I would say so many people aren't even aware of, Heather, because they're strictly focused on growing their money, or they're working with an advisory firm that just focuses on investments and rate of return and what they're earning on their money, not income and not phase two. And how their dollars are affected in a phase two plan. So for those of you listening right now, if you are either taking RMDs currently or you're retired and you're taking income from your portfolio in a down market and you're looking for strategies to avoid these double negatives, you're looking for a portfolio x-ray for a second opinion on what you're doing with your current investments, what you're doing with your RMDs, or our strategies to avoid these things in retirement, we want to offer you that same reporting that we offer anyone else, RMD strategies, the portfolio x-ray, to give you a complimentary second opinion on everything you're doing with your investments. If you're 55 years old and older, if you've saved $500,000 or more for your retirement, go to retirementkeyradio.com, click on the Contact Us tab at the top of the page, and we can begin to have these same conversations with you as well.
Thanks for listening to the Retirement Key Podcast with Abe Abish. To learn more about Abish Financial Services, visit retirementkeyradio.com. And join Abe for his radio show, The Retirement Key, Saturdays and Sundays at 2 p.m. on WMAL.
Investment advisory services offered through Abish Financial Wealth Management, LLC, number 310633, a registered investment advisor firm. Financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Abraham Abish is licensed in your state, please call 571-577-9968. Abish Financial Services is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Abraham Abish Inc., Virginia license number 131017.